The wind, a mournful lament across the high plains, echoed the desolation in Nora Bennett's heart. Its ceaseless whisper, through the brittle stalks of last year's crops, seemed to carry the very essence of her grief, a constant, chilling reminder of the void in her life. Her husband, John, a man as steady and true as the earth itself, had been snatched away with a brutal suddenness, taken by a robe bull in a ranching accident that had ripped the very fabric of her world apart, leaving behind a cross, jagged, gaping wound. 3 months had limped by since that catastrophic day, each one heavier than the last, marked by the slow, painful decay of her dreams. Now, the quiet farmhouse, a place once brimming with John's hearty laughter and the comforting creak of his boots on the worn floorboards, felt vast and empty, each silent corner a stark testament to the vibrant life that had vanished. The profound quiet, unbroken by the familiar sounds of his presence, was deafening, a constant echo of her unbearable loss. It pressed in on her, a physical weight that settled deep in her chest, making each breath a conscious effort, each moment a struggle against the crushing silence. Before we carry on, please hit the subscribe button to make my day, and let me know where you are watching from in the comments. Nora, barely into her late 20s, found herself not just a widow, but a pregnant one, a fragile new life burgeoning within her. It was a bittersweet legacy of John's enduring love, a tiny ember of hope amidst the ashes of her shattered dreams, yet also a stark reminder of what she had lost. The irony was a cruel, biting twist. A new life was burgeoning within her, preparing to enter the world, yet the one she lived, the very foundation of her existence, was rapidly unraveling, slipping through her fingers like sand. Fine dust. The sprawling acres of the Willow Creek Ranch, the home she and John had poured, their dreams, their sweat, their every waking moment, and every ounce of their shared future into, was now a crushing weight, a looming threat instead of a cherished sanctuary, a place of peace. The mortgage, once a manageable burden with John's tireless work ethic and her meticulous bookkeeping, had transformed into an insurmountable mountain of debt, its peaks shrouded in the impenetrable fog of despair, its valleys filled with the chilling whispers of foreclosure. Every night, as she lay in their bed, the numbers swirled in her mind, a dizzying, inescapable spiral, each digit a step closer to losing everything. The bank, a cold, faceless entity headquartered in the nearest town of Silverwood, seemed utterly impervious to grief or burgeoning life. Their letters, crisp and unforgiving, sealed with the bank's official emblem, piled up on the worn kitchen table, each one a stark, chilling reminder of her impending ruin. The paper, once a mere vessel for administrative details, now felt like a death warrant, its legalistic script sealing her fate with an undeniable finality. The final notice had arrived yesterday, a stark white envelope among the mundane bills, its stark legal language sealing her fate. The Willow Creek Ranch was to be foreclosed upon, snatched from her grasp, and auctioned off to the highest bidder in precisely 2 weeks' time. The clock was ticking, a relentless countdown to utter desolation, each tick echoing the rapid beat of her terrified heart. She walked through the fields daily, a pilgrimage born of desperation and a desperate need to connect with what she was about to lose, to imprint every detail onto her memory. Her hand rested instinctively, protectively, on her gently rounded belly, a silent conversation with the life growing within, a promise of a future she desperately clung to. The spring wheat, planted by John's strong, loving hands before the accident, was beginning to sprout, a vibrant, hopeful green against the rich, dark brown earth. Every fragile blade, every wild daisy pushing through the tough soil, whispered of John, of their shared dreams, of the future they had so painstakingly planned. How could she possibly leave it? How could she explain to her unborn child that their home, their birthright, their legacy, had been stripped away before they even drew their first breath, before they had a chance to feel the sun on their face on this very land? The thought was a crushing blow, stealing the air from her lungs, leaving her gasping for breath in the wide-open spaces of her own fields. Desperation was a bitter, metallic taste in her mouth, mingling with the ever-present flavor of grief, a constant companion. She had tried everything, leaving no stone unturned in her frantic search for a solution. She'd swallowed her pride, dressed in her best, albeit worn, Sunday dress, and ridden into Silverwood, to the sterile, unforgiving confines of the bank. She had pleaded with Mr. Anderson, the stern-faced, bespectacled loan officer, whose gaze was as cold as granite, her voice trembling but earnest, filled with a desperate hope. She'd laid bare her situation, her profound loss, her vulnerable pregnancy, begged for an extension, for a shred of human understanding, a moment of mercy. His gaze, cold and unwavering, had offered no mercy, no flicker of human compassion, not even a glimmer of sympathy. "Business is business, Mrs. Bennett," he'd stated, his voice devoid of sympathy, as flat and unyielding as the bank vault behind him. "The terms of the loan are clear. Unless you can make the outstanding payments, the bank has no choice. We have a fiduciary responsibility to our shareholders." His words felt like a judgment, a dismissal of her entire existence, reducing her life to mere numbers on a ledger. She'd reached out to distant relatives, to John's few remaining friends, but everyone was struggling in the lean times that had gripped the region, their own pockets stretched thin. There was no magic solution, no hidden well of wealth, no benevolent benefactor waiting in the wings. She was utterly alone, adrift in a vast, unforgiving sea of debt, with only the fierce, primal protectiveness for the tiny life within her as her sole, fragile anchor. The auction date loomed like a monstrous storm cloud on the horizon, promising not just a brief passing reign, but utter, devastating ruin. Each sunrise brought it closer, a silent, relentless march towards the end of her world as she knew it, the countdown echoing in her sleepless nights. She often sought solace by the small, winding creek that meandered through their property, its gentle murmur a stark, soothing contrast to the tumult in her soul. The water, clear and cool, seemed to whisper secrets of continuity, of life enduring, of cycles that transcended human sorrow. It was here, one quiet afternoon, the sun casting long, golden shadows across the shimmering water, that she first saw him. He was a stranger, tall and imposing, his broad shoulders outlined against the brilliant setting sun, a silhouette against the vast, indifferent sky. He sat astride a magnificent roan horse, its coat gleaming like polished copper, its stillness mirroring its rider's quiet observation. His gaze, distant and intense, swept over the land with an almost proprietorial air, an intensity that made her uneasy, a prickle of unease raising the hairs on her arms, a sense of being watched. He was clearly a cattleman, his weathered face, etched with lines of sun and wind, and his strong, calloused hands, speaking of a life spent under the vast, open sky, a life of hard labor and quiet contemplation. But there was something else in his eyes, something deeper than mere observation, a profound, deep-seated sadness that resonated with her own raw grief, a shared understanding of loss that she couldn't articulate, a silent language of sorrow. He didn't approach her, merely observed her from a distance, a silent, almost watchful presence. It was unsettling, the weight of his unseen gaze, yet strangely, not threatening. He was an enigma, a fleeting shadow on the periphery of her rapidly crumbling world. She knew nothing of him, only that he carried a weight, a sorrow that mirrored her own, a quiet burden that made him seem both formidable and fragile, a man of immense power burdened by an invisible pain. His name, she would later learn from hushed whispers in Silverwood, was Levi Dalton. He was a legendary figure in the cattle world, a titan of industry, a man of immense, almost incomprehensible wealth. Owning ranches that stretched as far as the eye could see, their boundaries blurring into the horizon, merging with the distant hazy mountains. But his colossal fortune, built on shrewd business acumen and tireless, relentless work, was rumored to be accompanied by a profound personal tragedy that had left him a solitary figure. He was known as a recluse, rarely seen in town, his life as solitary as hers was about to become, perhaps even more so. The town gossiped about his distant sorrow, the shadows that clung to him despite his vast success, the quiet mystery surrounding his life. The day of the auction arrived, a brutal assault on her senses, a public execution of her dreams. The small, dusty town square of Silverwood was teeming with people, a curious mix of greedy land speculators with their calculating eyes, hopeful bidders with their eager expressions, and townsfolk drawn by the morbid spectacle of a family losing everything. Nora stood at the very edge of the crowd, a phantom at her own wake, her heart a raw, exposed nerve, clutching a worn silver locket, John's smiling, vibrant face enshrined within its tiny frame. The silver, warm against her palm, was her only connection to him. The bank had allowed her to keep a few personal items, a meager, almost insulting consolation for the entire life they were stripping away from her, a life built on love and shared dreams. Sheriff Brody, a kind man with a troubled, sympathetic gaze, his weathered face creased with unspoken regret, offered her a deep, regretful nod. His face was a mask of helplessness, powerless against the cold machinery of finance. "I'm sorry, Nora," he murmured, his voice heavy with regret, a whispered apology that tore at her fragile composure. "There's nothing I can do. The law is the law, and the bank has every right." The auctioneer, a jovial man whose voice usually boomed with contagious enthusiasm, now spoke in a strangely subdued tone, perhaps out of a glimmer of respect for the tragic circumstances that had brought them all here. His usual flourish was absent, his pronouncements lacking their customary vigor. "All right, folks, we're here today for the foreclosure auction of the Willow Creek Ranch," he announced, his voice lacking its usual vigor, sounding almost somber. 240 acres, prime grazing land, with a solid farmhouse and outbuildings. "Who will open the bidding? We'll start at $25,000. The initial bids were cautious, tentative, then grew more aggressive, fueled by the scent of a bargain, a chance to acquire prime land at a reduced price. Nora listened, her vision blurring, the numbers soaring higher and higher, each rapid increase a cruel, resounding nail in the coffin of her dreams. She recognized some of the bidders, callous land speculators with hungry eyes, their faces etched with greed, rival ranchers eager to expand their holdings at a bargain price, their expressions devoid of empathy. She felt a profound, paralyzing sense of helplessness, a tidal wave of utter despair threatening to engulf her, to pull her under its crushing weight. The air felt thin, suffocating, as if the very oxygen was being drawn from her lungs. Just as the bidding seemed to reach its peak, the auctioneer raising his gavel, his voice preparing to declare the final sale, a clear, resonant voice cut through the air, sharp and decisive, silencing the murmurs of the crowd as if by magic. $100,000. A collective gasp swept through the square, a ripple of stunned disbelief. The amount was exorbitant, truly staggering, far beyond the land's perceived market value, far more than anyone had anticipated. Every head in the crowd snapped around, every gaze searching frantically for the source of the audacious, almost insulting bid. And then Nora saw him. Levi Dalton. He stood tall and unyielding at the very back of the crowd, his broad shoulders a formidable presence, his face impassive, devoid of any discernible emotion, his dark eyes fixed intently on the auctioneer, not on her, as if she were invisible, merely a part of the landscape. He was a silent, powerful force, his immense wealth and undeniable authority radiating from him like heat from a forge, an undeniable aura of power that commanded attention. The auctioneer, momentarily stunned into silence, stammered, his words tripping over each other, caught off guard. "Did I hear that right, Mr. Dalton? 100,000? Are you certain of that figure?" "You heard right." Levi's voice was deep, unwavering, carrying an undeniable finality, a declaration that brooked no argument, no questioning. His gaze remained locked on the auctioneer, a silent challenge to anyone who dared to question him or to bid higher. Silence fell over the square once more, thick and heavy, punctuated only by the distant caw of a crow. No one dared to challenge him. Levi Dalton was not just a wealthy man. He was a force of nature, a man who got what he wanted, his will as unyielding as the granite mountains that ringed the distant horizon. His motives for such an astronomical bid were a profound mystery, a whispered enigma that would fuel Silverwood's gossip for weeks, but no one was foolish enough to question them openly. The air crackled with unspoken questions, with awe and a hint of fear, as the crowd absorbed the sheer magnitude of his action. The auctioneer, recovering his composure with a visible effort, finally brought down his gavel with a resounding thwack. "Sold! To Mr. Letty Dalton, the Willow Creek Ranch is officially sold." A wave of dizzying lightheadedness swept over Nora, threatening to buckle her knees. Relief, raw and overwhelming, mingled with disbelief, confusion, and a burgeoning sense of bewilderment. The land was sold. Her home was gone. But to him, the silent, sorrowful cowboy. Why? What did he want with Willow Creek? What grand scheme was he playing out? The questions swirled in her mind, a dizzying maelstrom of uncertainty, each unanswered query compounding her confusion. She watched as Levi strode purposefully towards the auctioneer, his back to her, his broad shoulders a formidable barrier, a silent fortress. He signed papers, exchanged a few hushed words with the stern-faced bank official, his movements efficient, his demeanor utterly inscrutable, giving nothing away. He was a man of action, not of verbose explanations. Then he turned, and his dark eyes, filled with a sorrow that mirrored her own, met hers across the silent, curious crowd. He held her gaze for a long, quiet moment, a silent exchange that seemed to transcend words, speaking volumes through unspoken understanding. In that profound, silent connection, a fragile understanding seemed to pass between them, a shared weight of unbearable loss, a fragile spark of something yet unknown, something that hinted at a path forward from this desolation. He didn't offer her a word, not yet. But his presence, his unexpected, audacious intervention, had irrevocably altered her fate. She was still a pregnant widow, still broken by the jagged edges of grief. But now, a tiny, bewildered flicker of hope ignited within her, a tiny ember in the vast emptiness of her heart. The land was gone, but perhaps, just perhaps, it wasn't lost forever. And the man who had bought it back, a silent, sorrowful enigma, held the key to its future, and perhaps, to hers, in his powerful, unreadable hands. The inexplicable weight of the deed, now legally returned to her name, felt both impossibly light and overwhelmingly heavy in Nora's hands. It was a tangible piece of her future, a symbol of hope, yet also a stark reminder of the immense, almost unbelievable generosity that had brought it back to her. Levi Dalton's act of unparalleled kindness was a lifeline, pulling her back, with an almost physical force, from the cold, crushing abyss of destitution, from the precipice of utter ruin. But it remained a profound, bewildering mystery that spun in her mind, relentless and unresolved, its depths yet unfathomed. His silent sorrow, the raw, unvarnished honesty in his eyes, when he spoke of his lost family, resonated deeply with her own grief, a shared understanding of pain that connected them in an unspoken way. A bond formed in Colk, the crucible of loss. She understood his loss, the crushing, inescapable emptiness that such a profound bereavement could leave in its wake, the way it could hollow out a soul. Yet, his selfless act of kindness, born from that very pain, defied all logic, all conventional understanding of human behavior. Why would he burden himself with her profound sorrow, her seemingly insurmountable problems, her very existence? The question echoed in the quiet corners of her mind, persistent and unanswered, a haunting melody of perplexity. The days that followed the auction were a blur of bewildered gratitude and a fragile, nascent hope, like a tender shoot pushing through frozen earth, defying the odds. The news of Levi's unprecedented generosity swept through Silverwood like a prairie fire, turning hushed whispers into open admiration, bordering on reverence. People who had once looked at Nora with pity, their gazes filled with a detached sympathy, now looked at her with a mix of awe and a renewed, almost reverent respect. She was no longer just the pregnant widow facing eviction, a figure of tragedy to be pitied. She was the recipient of an extraordinary, almost miraculous act of kindness, a living testament to the unexpected compassion that could bloom even in the harshest, most desolate of landscapes, a testament to the inherent good that still existed in the world. The weight of their gazes, once so heavy with sorrow, now felt lighter, almost hopeful, tinged with a quiet sense of wonder. Nora, however, felt a profound, almost overwhelming responsibility. Levi had given her a second chance, a fresh start, not just for herself, but for the precious, burgeoning life within her, for John's enduring legacy. She couldn't squander it, not for a moment, not an inch. The Willow Creek Ranch, once a haunting symbol of her looming despair, of her ultimate failure, was now a vibrant, challenging canvas for rebuilding, a testament to resilience, a beacon of renewed purpose. Every morning, she rose with a fierce determination, the weight of his kindness fueling her resolve, each sunrise a new opportunity. She began slowly, meticulously, working her way through the immediate needs of the ranch, prioritizing tasks with a grim efficiency that belied her inner turmoil. The spring planting was critical, the very foundation of their survival. The cattle needed to be moved to fresh, nutrient-rich pastures. Fences, damaged by the relentless winter winds, needed urgent mending, their broken wires a constant reminder of neglect. And the farmhouse, though structurally sound, desperately needed constant care, its weary timbers whispering of neglect, of years of deferred maintenance. Her pregnancy, now more pronounced, her belly a prominent swell, added a layer of profound physical challenge, making every movement an effort, each step a conscious decision, but it also ignited a fierce, primal, protective determination within her, a fire in her belly stronger than on day. Any fatigue, every task, no matter how small, no matter how physically draining, was performed with a renewed sense of purpose, a silent, unwavering promise to Levi, to John's enduring memory, and most importantly, to her unborn child, a solemn vow to forge a new life from the ashes of the old. Levi, true to his initial words, did not intrude. He respected her space, her grief, her struggle, her need to reclaim her own agency. However, he remained a silent, watchful presence, a benevolent shadow hovering in the background. He sent his foreman, a quiet, capable man named Hank, from one of his sprawling ranches to offer assistance with some of the heavier, more physically demanding work. Hank was a man of few words, but immense skill, his hands as weathered and capable as Levi's own, moving with practiced ease. He worked diligently, never asking questions, his presence a silent, unobtrusive reminder of Levi's ongoing, watchful support, a lifeline thrown from a distance, without expectation. He fixed the most damaged sections of fence, expertly handled the herd, ensuring their health, and ensured the essential machinery was in perfect working order, its gears humming with renewed life. Nora saw Levi occasionally in Silverwood, during her infrequent, yet necessary trips for supplies, her buggy laden with essential goods. He would nod, a brief acknowledgement, a silent communication across the dusty street, a shared understanding that transcended words. His dark eyes, though still holding that profound, lingering sadness, now also held a hint of something else, a quiet observation that made her feel seen, truly seen, for the first time since John's death, as if he could see beyond her outward composure into the depths of her soul. They exchanged polite greetings, a brief, formal dance, but the unspoken weight of his extraordinary generosity and her profound, almost overwhelming gratitude hung between them, a silent bridge woven from shared understanding and unspoken empathy, a connection that deepened with each fleeting encounter. Their conversations were short, practical, yet each word was imbued with a deeper meaning, a subtle current flowing beneath the surface. One sweltering afternoon, the kind of oppressive summer heat that shimmered off the baked earth, distorting the horizon, as Nora was struggling to repair a particularly stubborn, broken water pump near the barn, her swollen belly making the pals. Awkward angle, almost impossible to maneuver, her muscles aching with the effort, she heard the rhythmic thud of hooves approaching. It was a familiar, comforting sound now, a sign of his presence. She straightened, wiping sweat from her brow with the back of her hand, and saw Levi dismounting from his magnificent roan, the horse's coat glistening with sweat, its flanks heaving gently. He moved with a quiet authority, his gaze immediately assessing her struggle, his brow furrowing with concern, a flash of worry in his eyes. "Mrs. Bennet," he said, his voice calm, devoid of any judgment, simply a statement of fact. "That pump looks like it's giving you trouble. And in this heat, it's dangerous work, especially for you." "It's a stubborn old thing," Nora replied, feeling a flush of embarrassment at being caught in such a vulnerable, struggling state. Her dress clung uncomfortably to her back, soaked with perspiration, and her hair was plastered to her forehead, escaping its pins. "It's been acting up for days. I just can't seem to get enough leverage to get it working properly." He knelt, his large, capable hands examining the pump with a practiced, expert ease, his fingers tracing the worn parts, assessing the damage. "Looks like the packing's gone," he murmured, almost to himself. "And the piston rod is bent, probably from an old crack. It's a job for a man with a stronger arm and the right tools, a more specialized repair." He rose, his eyes meeting hers, a hint of gentle admonishment in their depths, but primarily concern. "You shouldn't be doing this kind of work, Nora, not in your condition. It's too much strain, too much risk." Nora's chin lifted, a flicker of her inherent stubbornness, a defiant spark of her independent spirit, showing through her fatigue. She wouldn't be seen as helpless. "I don't have a choice, Mr. Dalton," she stated, her voice firm despite her weariness, a challenge in her tone. "This ranch needs tending. The animals need water. I can't just let it all fall apart because I'm inconvenienced." He nodded, a hint of deep understanding in his eyes, a recognition of her unwavering spirit, her fierce pride. "I know that feeling," he murmured, his gaze softening as he looked past her to the sun-drenched fields, to the vastness of the land. "The land calls to you, demands your attention. But there are ways to manage this, ways to ensure your well-being, and the babies, without risking yourself." He paused, then his voice took on a decisive, resolute tone. "I'll send some of my men over tomorrow. They can fix this, and check on any other repairs you might need. No charge, of course. Just as a neighbor, helping out, as one rancher to another." His words were not an offer of charity, but of shared responsibility, of quiet solidarity, of community. Nora hesitated, the overwhelming, persistent kindness of his gesture almost too much to bear, threatening to break through her carefully constructed defenses, her ingrained independence. "You've already done so much, Mr. Dalton," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion, tinged with a profound gratitude. The debt, both financial and emotional, felt immense, a weight she struggled to balance. "It's no trouble, Nora. Truly, it's a pleasure to help," he said, his voice gentle but firm, dismissing her concerns. His gaze softened further, lingering on her prominently rounded belly, a silent acknowledgement of the precious life she carried, a life that linked them in an unspoken way. "You need to focus on what's important right now. Everything else can wait. This ranch will be here. You need to be strong for your child, for your future." He left then, as quietly and unobtrusively as he had arrived, a powerful, silent force, leaving Nora standing by the broken pump, a profound wave of gratitude washing over her, hot tears stinging her eyes. His empathy was not patronizing. It was genuine, born from a place of deep, shared understanding of loss and struggle, of the harsh realities of ranching life. He recognized her determination, but also her profound vulnerability, and he offered help not as charity, but as a silent, unwavering act of support, a bridge of human connection built on empathy and respect. The very next day, true to Levi's word, Hank and two other capable ranch hands arrived, their movements efficient, respectful, and surprisingly swift, working with a quiet professionalism. They not only expertly fixed the stubborn water pump, restoring its steady flow, but they also meticulously mended every damaged section of fence, their hammers ringing rhythmically in the summer air, checked the cattle with a keen eye, ensuring their health and well-being, and even helped her with some of the heavier chores around the farmhouse, tasks that had seemed insurmountable, like stacking firewood and clearing out the old storage shed. Their presence, unobtrusive and incredibly helpful, brought a much-needed sense of relief and tangible progress to the ranch, easing her burden significantly, allowing her to conserve her diminishing energy. As the weeks turned into months, the vibrant spring matured into a glorious, abundant summer, its long sun-drenched days filled with growth and life. Nora's pregnancy advanced, her body changing, expanding, preparing with an ancient, natural rhythm for the imminent arrival of new life. The Willow Creek Ranch, nurtured by her tireless, unwavering efforts and Levi's silent, steadfast support, began to regain its former vitality, its lushness a testament to renewed hope and careful stewardship. The wheat fields swayed golden in the gentle breeze, their bounty promising a good harvest. The cattle grazed peacefully in the verdant pastures, their contentment a quiet song that filled the air. And the farmhouse, though still holding the faint, cherished echoes of John's presence, slowly began to fill with a new kind of quiet hope, a nascent sense of possibility, a subtle warmth that permeated its very walls. Levi continued to visit, not formally, but more casually now, his appearances more frequent, his presence more integrated into the daily rhythm of Willow Creek. He often rode by to check on the progress of the ranch, his keen eyes missing nothing, sometimes dismounting to offer a quiet word of advice, or simply to sit with her on the porch swing, sipping strong black coffee in a comfortable, companionable silence that transcended words. These were the moments Nora cherished most, the quiet, unspoken understandings that blossomed between them, a profound connection that deepened with each shared glance. She found herself confiding in him, sharing stories of John, not with the raw, searing pain of recent grief, but with a gentle, wistful affection, a quiet remembrance. She spoke of her hopes and deepest fears for the baby, of the overwhelming challenges of managing the ranch alone, of the weight of her responsibilities. Levi listened, his gaze steady, unwavering, his presence a comforting, unshakable anchor in her turbulent emotions. He never offered empty platitudes or hollow words of comfort, but his empathy was profound, his quiet strength a palpable support that settled deep within her, a silent reassurance. He spoke of his own vast ranching experiences, offering practical wisdom, sharing glimpses of his own life, a life of immense success shadowed by immense, almost unbearable loss. He was a paradox, a man of great power and formidable presence, yet a man of quiet sorrow, a man who had built an empire but found solace and quiet contentment in the simple act of sitting on a porch swing with a pregnant widow, watching the sun set over the plains. Nora began to see beyond the wealthy cattleman, beyond a formidable exterior, beyond the aura of profound tragedy that still surrounded him like a lingering shadow. She saw a man of immense, unwavering integrity, a man capable of immense, selfless kindness, a man whose broken heart, like hers, yearned for healing, for connection, for a path forward. She found herself inexplicably drawn to his quiet strength, to the steady, reassuring warmth of his presence, to the unspoken understanding that flowed between them, a current that was both gentle and powerful, pulling, her ever closer. The physical exhaustion of her advanced pregnancy grew, a constant, heavy burden that made each day a struggle, but the emotional weight, the crushing burden of solitude and despair, lightened perceptibly, replaced by a modest, nascent, fragile hope. She was no longer just surviving, merely enduring. She was living, truly living, growing, rebuilding. And Levi Dalton, the man who had bought her home back for love, was slowly, quietly, meticulously, helping her rebuild her shattered heart as well. She knew, with a certainty that settled deep in her soul, a quiet conviction that resonated through her very being, that the future, whatever it held, would be faced not in isolating solitude, but with a quiet, unwavering connection that had bloomed from the most unexpected act of kindness, an act that defied all reason and logic. The land was hers, a physical manifestation of her rebirth, but slowly, surely, her heart was finding its way home too, guided by the silent compass of love, toward a destiny she never imagined. The relentless summer sun, a fiery orb in the vast cerulean sky, finally gave way to the softer, gentler light of autumn. The fields of wheat, once shimmering gold, were harvested, their bounty a tangible symbol of Nora's resilience and the quiet, unwavering support of Levi Dalton. Her connection with Levi had deepened into a profound, undeniable love, a bond forged in shared sorrow and nurtured by acts of quiet, selfless kindness. He was a constant presence at Willow Creek now, his grand ranch a distant backdrop to the intimate world they were building together. He had seamlessly integrated himself into the rhythm of her life and into the quiet, domestic hum of the farmhouse, bringing with him a sense of peace and stability that she hadn't realized was missing until he arrived, a silent void that he now filled with his steady presence. The last few weeks of Nora's pregnancy were physically challenging. Each movement an effort, each day a struggle against a growing weight and discomfort. But the emotional burden had lifted, replaced by a joyful anticipation that energized her spirit. Luke, now a few weeks old, was a tiny bundle of pure, innocent wonder, a miracle in miniature. His soft cooing, his rooting instincts against her breast, his miniature hands clutching her finger, filled her days with a profound sense of purpose, a love so fierce it almost hurt. Levi was surprisingly adept with the baby, his large, calloused hands surprisingly gentle as he helped swaddle Luke or held him while Nora rested, allowing her precious moments of respite. His dark eyes, usually shadowed by a quiet sorrow, would crinkle at the corners in a rare, genuine smile when Luke's tiny fingers would instinctively grasp his, a small testament to the new joy that had entered his once solitary life, a warmth that seemed to thaw the ice around his heart. Nora watched him, her heart swelling with an emotion that was far deeper than gratitude. It was a profound, aching love for this man who had stepped into her darkest hour and brought light, a man who had not just saved her home, but had helped her rebuild her shattered life, piece by careful piece. The ranch, now bustling with a quiet efficiency, demanded constant attention, its needs never ending. Levi, while still overseeing his own vast operations, seemed to devote more and more of his time, his energy, and his formidable expertise to Willow Creek. He brought his foreman, Hank, and a small team of skilled hands to help with the spring branding, the fence repairs that always seemed to crop up, and the meticulous preparations for the summer harvest, ensuring everything was in perfect order. His presence was not domineering, not a takeover, but collaborative, a shared vision that honored Nora's hard work and John's legacy, a partnership built on mutual respect. Nora found herself relying on his extensive expertise, trusting his keen judgment, and reveling in their shared vision for the land. They discussed crop rotations, cattle breeding, and future plans for the ranch, their conversations often extending late into the night, filled with an easy camaraderie and the deepening mutual respect, the comfortable silence between words speaking volumes. One evening, after Luke was finally asleep, nestled soundly in his crib, his soft breathing a gentle rhythm in the quiet house, and the farmhouse settled into a comfortable, intimate quiet, Nora found Levi sitting on the porch swing. His gaze was fixed on the endless expanse of the plains, now bathed in the soft, ethereal glow of twilight, the stars beginning to prick through the deepening blue, like scattered diamonds. She sat beside him, the old wooden swing creaking softly under their combined weight, a familiar, comforting sound that had become a lullaby of their shared moments. The air was cool, carrying the earthy scent of drying hay and the faint perfume of wild sage. "Levi," she began, her voice soft, a delicate thread in the vast quiet, barely above a whisper. "I don't know how I can ever thank you. For everything. For buying the land back. For helping with Luke. For just being here. You've given me back my life, my future, my very hope." He turned to her, his dark eyes holding hers, their depths reflecting the nascent stars, a universe of emotion held within their gaze. "You don't need to thank me, Nora," he said, his voice deep and calm, yet tinged with a quiet vulnerability, a rare glimpse into his guarded heart. "You've given me more than I could ever repay, more than I ever thought possible, more than I could have ever dreamed." He paused, his gaze drifting to the distant horizon, as if searching for the right words to articulate the profound shift within him. "You've brought life back into a part of me I thought was dead, gone forever, buried with my past. Seeing you, seeing Luke, seeing this ranch thrive again, it's a healing I didn't know was possible. A kind of redemption, a second chance at living." He reached out, his calloused hand, worn from years of hard work, gently covering hers, his thumb stroking her knuckles in a tender, almost hesitant gesture. The touch sent a jolt through her, a warm current that spread through her entire body, igniting a quiet fire in her soul, a sense of belonging she hadn't felt since John. I came here to buy back a piece of my past, to find some closure for Sarah, to quiet the ghosts that haunted me, he murmured, his voice husky with emotion, a rare crack in his formidable composure. But I found something else. I found you. And I found hope for a future I thought would forever be solitary, forever empty, forever devoid of true connection. Nora's heart pounded, a silent rhythm that echoed the unspoken emotions swirling between them. The air around them seemed to thicken with unspoken possibility, a tangible energy. She looked at his hand, large and strong, covering hers, a tangible symbol of his steady presence, his unwavering support, then met his gaze. The sadness in his eyes was still there, a lingering shadow of his profound past. A memory that would always be a part of him, but now, it was tempered by a profound tenderness. A nascent hope that mirrored her own, a glimmer of light in the depths that promised a brighter tomorrow. "Levi," she whispered, her voice barely audible, a fragile confession that trembled on her lips. I'm falling in love with you." The words, once held captive by grief and uncertainty, tumbled out, honest and raw, a truth that could no longer be contained. The words hung in the cool evening air, a fragile, momentous confession that changed everything. Levi's grip on her hand tightened, a reassuring squeeze, a confirmation of shared feeling. A slow, gentle smile, one she rarely saw, a smile that transformed his rugged features, chasing away the shadows and lines of sorrow, spread across his face, lighting up his eyes. "I was hoping you would," he murmured, his voice husky with emotion, a joyous tremor beneath his usual calm, a hint of vulnerability. He leaned closer, his eyes searching hers for confirmation, for acceptance, for a shared future he now dared to dream of. "Because I'm falling in love with you too, Nora. More than I ever thought possible. More than I ever dared to dream, even in my wildest moments." He cupped her face with his free hand, his touch surprisingly gentle, almost reverent, his thumbs tracing the curve of her jaw. And then he leaned in, his lips meeting hers in a soft, tender breath-stealing kiss. It was a kiss of shared sorrow, of profound gratitude, of burgeoning hope, and of a love that had found its way through the darkest of times, blooming in the most unexpected of places, under the vast, indifferent sky. It was a kiss that promised healing, belonging, and a future built on foundations of unwavering kindness, quiet understanding, and boundless devotion, a new beginning. The very air around them seemed to shimmer with the unspoken promises of forever, a silent symphony of hope. Their relationship blossomed quietly, a private garden nurtured in the open expanse of the plains, sheltered from the prying eyes of the world, growing stronger with each passing day. They spent their evenings together, sharing stories of their lives, their dreams for the future, and the comfortable silences that only true intimacy could bring, moments of profound connection. Levi became a constant, unwavering presence at Willow Creek, his formidable expertise guiding the ranch's growth, ensuring its prosperity, his steady hand a comforting presence for Nora, and a loving, patient one for Luke. He was more than a benefactor, he was family, the missing piece of their shattered world, the anchor that steadied them. The townsfolk of Silverwood, witnessing the quiet, beautiful unfolding of their love story, offered their silent, heartfelt approval, their initial surprise giving way to genuine happiness for Nora. The initial shock of Levi's unprecedented act of generosity had long since turned into genuine admiration, bordering on reverence. The sight of the wealthy, once reclusive cattleman playing gently with Luke in the dusty yard of Willow Creek became a familiar and heartwarming sight, a testament to the transformative power of love and compassion, a beacon of hope in their community. One particularly beautiful autumn afternoon, as the leaves on the cottonwood trees turned to brilliant gold, shimmering like 1,000 tiny coins in the sunlight, casting long, dancing shadows, Levi found Nora by the small, winding creek, Luke gurgling happily in a soft blanket beside her, content and safe. The creek, the very place where she had first seen him, A silent, sorrowful stranger, now held a new, profound significance, a symbol of their blossoming love, a sacred ground of their shared journey where new life had begun. "Nora," he said, his voice soft, gentle, almost a whisper, yet filled with a profound weight. "There's something I want to ask you." Her heart fluttered with anticipation, a joyous bird taking flight within her chest. She turned to him, her eyes shining with unshed tears of happiness, a radiant light that mirrored the golden hues of the setting sun, reflecting the warmth in her soul. He knelt beside her, his gaze unwavering, taking her hands in his. His large, strong hands held hers gently, reverently, a tangible connection. "I know this isn't how you imagined your life would unfold, Nora. I know John will always be a part of your heart, and Luke's life, a cherished memory, a guiding star. And I wouldn't want it any other way. His legacy lives on here, in this land, in his son." He paused, his dark eyes holding a deep sincerity, a profound vulnerability, laying bare his soul. "But I want to be a part of your future, Nora. And Luke's future. I want to build a life with you. To make this home, our home, truly ours, in every sense of the word. To fill it with new memories, new laughter, new joys, a symphony of happiness." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet-covered box. He opened it, revealing a simple, elegant ring set with a single luminous diamond that caught the sunlight, sparkling with quiet promise, a beacon of their future. "Nora Bennett," he began, his voice clear and resonant, filled with an earnest plea, his voice unwavering. "Will you do me the honor of becoming my wife? Will you let me love you, and Luke, and build a future together, here, on this land we both cherish, a future filled with peace and contentment?" Tears welled in Nora's eyes, hot and abundant, streaming down her cheeks, tears of overwhelming joy and profound, almost unbearable gratitude. This man, who had appeared like an angel in her darkest hour, who had bought her home back for love, had not just saved her from destitution. He was now offering her his heart, his life, his very soul, his forever. He was offering her a chance to rebuild not just her home, but her entire world, hand in hand with him, a new chapter unfolding before her. "Yes, Levi," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion, thick with unshed tears, her heart overflowing. "Yes, 1,000 times yes. With all my heart, yes." He slid the ring onto her finger, its cool, smooth weight, a tangible promise of their shared future, a symbol of their unbreakable bond, a circle of eternal love. He pulled her into a tender, fierce embrace, holding her close, the warmth of his body a comforting shield against the world's harshness, a safe harbor. Luke, startled by the sudden movement and the emotional intensity, let out a soft, questioning cry, and Levi gently included the baby in their embrace, a silent, profound promise of his love, an unwavering acceptance for John's son, for the new family they were creating, bound by love, not by blood alone. Their wedding was a quiet, intimate affair, held by the small winding creek at Willow Creek, the very place where their story had truly begun, where their paths had first crossed. They were surrounded by their closest friends and the loyal, supportive townsfolk of Harmony Creek, their faces beaming with shared joy, a testament to the love that radiated from Nora and Levi. Sheriff Brody stood as Levi's best man, his gaze filled with proud affection, a silent nod of approval, and Lily, Nora's dearest friend and confidant, stood as her maid of honor, her eyes shining with happy tears, witnessing the beautiful culmination of Nora's journey. The sun shone brightly, a benevolent presence, bathing the entire scene in a soft golden glow, a stark, beautiful contrast to the long shadows that had once enveloped Nora's life, a symbol of their radiant new beginning. As Levi and Nora exchanged vows, their eyes met, a profound, unspoken understanding passing between them, a recognition of their shared journey, of the struggles they had overcome, and the love they had found. They were two broken hearts, found and mended by an extraordinary act of selfless kindness, their lives now inextricably woven together by a love that had defied tragedy and embraced the glorious promise of a future filled with hope, laughter, and an enduring sense of belonging. Their vows were not just words, but promises etched into the very fabric of their souls, witnessed by the ancient plains. The years that followed were filled with the quiet, everyday joys of family life, built on a foundation of mutual respect and deep affection. Luke grew into a strong, kind boy, cherished by both Nora and Levi, who embraced his role as a loving, devoted stepfather with unwavering commitment, nurturing Luke as his own son, teaching him the ways of the land and the meaning of integrity. The Willow Creek Ranch flourished under their shared care, a testament to their unwavering love, their tireless hard work, and their combined vision, becoming a beacon of prosperity and peace. Levi and Nora built their life together, their bond deepening with each passing season, each shared challenge, each quiet moment of contentment found in the rhythms of ranch life. They built new barns, expanded their herd, investing in the future, and watched their wheat fields yield abundant harvests, each success a shared triumph, a confirmation of their partnership. They celebrated birthdays, holidays, and countless quiet evenings on the porch, watching the stars, their hands clasped, their hearts full. The laughter of children filled the air, as Luke soon had a baby sister, Sarah, a delicate, dark-haired girl who was the spitting image of Levi's first wife, a beautiful full circle. This new life, vibrant and noisy, filled the farmhouse that was once quiet with grief, transforming it into a true home. Their story became a legend, whispered around the campfires on cool evenings, and in the bustling general store of Silverwood, a tale passed down through generations. The pregnant widow, on the brink of losing everything, saved by the rich cowboy, a tale of extraordinary kindness, of a man who bought back a home not for profit, but for love, and in doing so, found his own true home, and his forever, in the heart of a woman who had taught him how to love again, how to live fully after profound loss. The sorrow in Levi's eyes never fully disappeared, a gentle, poignant shadow of the past, a reminder of the loved ones who came before, a quiet testament to his enduring capacity for love and grief, but it was now illuminated by the radiant light of a love that had brought profound healing, renewed purpose, and a deep, abiding sense of belonging to two souls who had once believed themselves destined to walk through life alone. They were a living testament to resilience, to the enduring power of compassion, and to the unexpected, beautiful ways in which love could emerge from the deepest of sorrows, offering a promise of forever that transcended loss and embraced the boundless possibilities of a future built on hope, honesty, and unwavering devotion. Their love, like the rolling plains, seemed to stretch endlessly, vast and unbroken, a quiet monument to a destiny found in the most unlikely of places, forever intertwined with the land they called home. The ranch flourished beyond anything Nora or even John had ever imagined, a beacon of sustainable agriculture and community spirit. Levi, with his immense resources and keen business sense, invested in modern irrigation systems, improving crop yields and ensuring resilience against droughts. He also expanded the cattle herds, but always with an eye toward responsible grazing practices, preserving the land's health for future generations. Nora, with her meticulous organizational skills and deep understanding of the daily rhythms of the ranch, managed the operations with quiet efficiency. Their combined strengths created a synergy that transformed Willow Creek into a model ranch, admired far and wide. Beyond the agricultural success, they fostered a vibrant community at Willow Creek. They hired more ranch hands, providing fair wages and comfortable housing, turning the ranch into a small, thriving village. Many of these hands were young men starting out, much like John had been, and Levi took a paternal interest in their well-being, sharing his vast knowledge and guiding them with a firm but gentle hand. Nora, meanwhile, created a warm, welcoming environment, often cooking large, communal meals that brought everyone together, fostering a sense of extended family. The farmhouse, once echoing with loneliness, now bustled with life, laughter, and the joyous sounds of children. Luke grew up sturdy and bright, with John's easy smile and Levi's quiet intensity. He adored Levi, seeing him as a towering figure of strength and wisdom. Levi, in turn, poured all his paternal affection into Luke, teaching him to ride, to rope, to read the land, and instilling in him a deep respect for nature and hard work. Luke also cherished the stories Nora told him about his birth father, John. Nora made sure John's memory was honored, ensuring Luke knew the man who had loved him first, weaving John's spirit into the fabric of their new family. She showed Luke photographs, told him anecdotes, and visited John's grave with him on quiet afternoons, explaining that love didn't end with goodbye. Levi supported this wholeheartedly, understanding that honoring the past was crucial for healing and building a complete future. He never felt threatened by John's memory. Rather, he saw it as a sacred part of Nora's heart that he was privileged to share. Their daughter, Sarah, named after Levi's lost wife, was a lively, curious child, a radiant light in the family. Her laughter was a joyful counterpoint to Luke's more reserved demeanor, and she inherited Levi's striking dark eyes that, surprisingly, held no trace of sadness, but rather a vibrant, inquisitive spark. Having Sarah was a profound moment of healing for Levi. Holding her, watching her grow, seeing the vibrant life he had thought forever lost to him, was a continuous balm for his soul. It was a tangible testament to the cycle of life, to joy returning even after the deepest sorrow. Nora loved seeing Levi with Sarah, the tenderness in his eyes, the ease with which he held his daughter, a testament to the family they had built. As years turned into decades, Nora and Levi's love matured, deepening with each passing season. Each shared triumph and tribulation. They faced challenges together, from harsh winters and fluctuating cattle prices to personal losses and the inevitable difficulties of raising children. Each obstacle only strengthened their bond, cementing their partnership. Their communication was often unspoken. A glance, a touch, the shared understanding that needed no words. Their love was not a fiery passion that burned brightly and quickly, but a deep, steady warmth that permeated every aspect of their lives, providing comfort and unwavering support. Levi, once the solitary, haunted figure, became a pillar of the Silverwood community. He used his wealth and influence not for personal gain, but for the betterment of the region. He championed local farmers and ranchers, establishing a cooperative that helped smaller operations weather economic downturns. He invested in the town's infrastructure, funding improvements to the schoolhouse and the clinic, ensuring that resources were available for everyone, not just those with means. Nora often worked alongside him in these endeavors, her sharp mind and compassionate heart proving invaluable in navigating community needs and building consensus. They were a formidable team, their shared vision rooted in a deep sense of responsibility and love for their community. The creek, the very heart of Willow Creek Ranch, remained a sacred spot for Nora and Levi. It was where Nora had first seen him, a silent observer in her moment of despair. It was where they had found solace, sharing their grief and, eventually, their burgeoning love. And it was where Levi had proposed, sealing their commitment beneath the vast, benevolent sky. They often took walks there, hand in hand, even in their older years, watching Luke and Sarah, and later, their grandchildren, play by its banks. Each ripple in the water, each rustle of the leaves, whispered of their journey, of loss transformed into love, of despair replaced by an abundance of joy. Nora and Levi lived long, fulfilling lives, deeply rooted in the land and in each other. They were a testament to the power of human connection, to the quiet strength of compassion, and to the extraordinary ways in which love could mend even the most broken hearts. Their story became a legend that transcended mere romance. It was a testament to resilience, to community, and to the enduring truth that sometimes the greatest acts of love are not about what you gain, but what you are willing to give. The Willow Creek Ranch, once on the brink of ruin, stood as a vibrant, living monument to their love, a legacy that stretched across the generations, nurtured by the silent, unwavering promise of forever. It wasn't just a ranch anymore. It was a home, a sanctuary, a thriving testament to a love that bought back not just land, but life itself.